Hello and welcome back to Assetto Corsa. Thank you very much for joining me in today's video, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about head tracking, the advantages of head tracking, the disadvantages of head tracking, and whether or not you should consider it over something like virtual reality, which of course is the rage nowadays with so many virtual reality headsets available from Oculus, from HTC, from Pimax, from PlayStation themselves, with the PSVR 2, which apparently is an excellent bit of kit. But I want to talk about whether or not head tracking still has a place in this era, what you could use it for, the scenarios when you could use it, and why I like to use head tracking and would probably not go to VR for the videos that I do. So if you want to hear all about that, get my opinions on head tracking, make sure you stay tuned, and don't forget, if you do enjoy the video, please do click on the like button, leave a comment with your opinions, and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. It's all free. That's all being said and done. Let's get started. Let's see if I can drive around Silverstone in a 2006 Formula 1 car with a whole bunch of other Formula 1 cars on the track as well. Let's see if I can do this without crashing. Okay, here we are with my head tracking setup. I can look left and I can look right. Everything looks good. I've got my McLaren GT3 wheel, which is what I use for Formula 1. So first gear, I put about 40% on the paddles for the second clutch, rev up, dump one clutch, and then dump the other. It's always great to be able to do that. Okay, whilst I get used to this, it's going to take a moment for me to get used to these, to this car and to driving with the head tracking enabled. So first off, I'll just give you a bit of a demo onto the head tracking that I'm using, so you get to see it. My steering wheel's a little bit wobbly with this car. Guess I'm not quite set up how I want to be set up with this. So this is I'm using the track hat with sensor version 1 and a cap, not the clip. There are of course other head tracking solutions available. For example, there is the very popular Track IR, which I think is version 5. Ooh, a whole bunch of cars ahead. And there's also your make it yourself one, and then there's the Face Track No IR as well. These can cost everything from just the cost of a webcam, which could be about £10–15, all the way up to about 100 to 150, somewhere around that mark, maybe even coming up to £200 for something like the Track IR set. And of course each one comes with their advantages and disadvantages. Oh, this is 2006 all over again. Somebody's going to crash. There they go. I knew it. Who's that? It's Fernando Alonso. Actually, it could be who was in the Renault at that time as well? Fisichella. Giancarlo Fisichella. So I'm using the track day in Assetto Corsa with the option for the track day that is available in Content Manager. And this here is exactly what head tracking is used for, and VR. Whoa! Obviously they were not looking where they were going. Assetto Corsa AI still not great, unfortunately. So what do I think of head tracking, and what are the biggest differences between head tracking and virtual reality in my opinion? Well, first off, we've got to look at the differences in how they work. What does head tracking do and what does virtual reality do? Because they do effectively do two different things. Whilst they are both capable of using other parts of somebody's body, so for in this case obviously the head, to be able to add an extra degree of movement, so in this case 6 degrees of freedom. Oh, okay, I'm into the back of the Red Bull? No, that's not the Red Bull, is it? Is that the Williams? I cannot see. Oh, that got Rosberg on my inside. Rosberg on one and Webber in front of me. No, that's not Webber, that's the BMW Sauber. That could be Heidfeld? Sauber was in the Sauber at the time. Uh-oh. Yep, that was going to happen. Did not expect them to brake that quickly. I'm so sorry, Kubica? That might have been Robert Kubica in there. Right. What was I saying? Yes. Fundamentally they do the same thing. They use the head of the user to be able to look around and build more of an environment, as opposed to just being able to look straight ahead, or having to use a mouse, for example, to look around. That is what they fundamentally do. However, the way in which they do it is very different. So, for the... What is going on here? It's like a formation lap. Why are these cars so slow right now? I've got their AI cranked right the way up. Somebody's gone off. I think they're too close to each other. So yes, whilst a VR headset projects 2 images to 2 different screens, one that goes to each eye, or to 2 different, I suppose displays, are maybe not quite screens, but 2 different displays, one to each eye, and the images that are displayed are slightly different from each other. That is how VR works. Then from there, if I can get right round Button, that's a 2-wheel moment by Button's teammate. Oh no, that was actually the Toyota of Yana Trulli, I think. It wasn't Button's teammate. That's Rosberg ahead of me. Just saw the yellow helmet. I'm fairly sure that was Rosberg's helmet. Yes, so they will show a slightly different image on each screen. And that, when the user wears it, because they cannot see the outside world anymore, those 2 different images, it's set up to replicate what we see with our eyes. If you were to close one eye, you would see a different image. If you were to then open that eye and then close the other eye, you would see 2 fundamentally different images, and that is how we determine that is how we determine depth, and how we are able to tell how far away certain things are. Let that BM go. I'm not confident with these cars yet. And VR tries to replicate the exact same thing by doing, well, that exact same thing. 2 separate images into 2 different eyes, and then your brain is able to process them exactly as we would with anything in real life, and that sees it as 2 different images, and therefore we have depth. Why am I being spun out? As I'm trying to close onto the back of the Toro Rosso, I'm being spun out by something. Head tracking, on the other hand, works a little bit differently. So head tracking uses, and well, continuing with VR, of course, you then have sensors that are around in the helmet or in your headset, and we have base stations that allow you to move around, which then track where your body is moving. So you've got your head movement, and you've got the movement of, thank you JB, and then you've got the movement of your body. So maybe your arms moving, or your legs moving, or you stepping forward or backwards away from screens, all of that kind of stuff, or away from a fixed point, and so on and so forth. There's a Gen 1 Red Bull, David Coulthard, maybe, could be someone else in there. I've forgotten the other Red Bull driver from 2006. was a Dutch guy, wasn't it? I cannot remember. Anyway, so that is how VR works. Head tracking works slightly differently. Head tracking, you also have a sensor, but the sensor is only looking at, well, your head, as it were. And it is sending a signal through a webcam or some sort of capture device, some sort of image capturing device. It could be an infrared sensor or anything like that. I'm so sorry, Felipe. That was completely my fault. I feel like they're slowing down a lot more than I would, which is really weird. So it takes some sort of image capturing device, a webcam, an infrared sensor, a light sensor, something like that, and from there it will then translate that, send that data to a piece of software, and then that will be translated into a game, as you can see here. And then I can look left and right and up and down and move forward and backwards and move side to side, depending on game obviously, and depending on how it's set up and what you need it for. And that just allows me to move the position of the camera. That is all it is. That is then displayed to a static 2D screen, which you see in front of you. So the world around you is still there, right? Overtake, 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 overtake. This is like lap 1 of a race, this is. And that was not my fault, clearly. That one was clearly not me. The AI really are a bit poor in these cars. Anyway, I'm constantly getting distracted from what I'm supposed to be talking about. So now we know what the key difference is between head tracking and VR. So for some people, of course, they might want the VR because they want that total immersion. They want to be able to be in a 3D environment. Head tracking cannot give you that. It can give you some of that immersion, but certainly not an entire 3D environment. VR can essentially replicate everything around you, or replicate the entire world around you. So right now, with the head tracking, I can see that I'm within the confines of a screen. And there's nothing I can do about that. There's no way to fix that. There's no way to be able to say that, oh, okay, I want to no longer be on the screen. Round the outside of cops is not somewhere where you would expect an overtake. I cannot look to the side too far and expect to see, well, the scenery of Silverstone. That is not going to happen. In fact, all I'm going to see is a wall or a shelf or whatever else I have around, a door. So in that, you've got a breaking of immersion. However, the trade-off for that is that at a certain point in time, I may need to be able to, so as a content creator, I may need to look at audio waveforms, see how my audio's going, or whether something's broken, or how long I've been recording for, or things like that. So I could look at that, and I can still see it, because I am, well, I'm not in this total environment. And that is, to me, an advantage. Now, obviously, as I said I do not have that full 3D immersion here, so my depth perception is a little bit more limited, for example. But it doesn't mean that I'm not able to still experience a fair amount of immersion. Being able to look around is fantastic. There is a lot of immersion in what I'm doing right now. It's just that, oh, there's a McLaren. Hello. It's Raikkonen, probably. But yes, there is a lot of immersion in what I'm doing, and therefore I'm able to have a better experience in the title that I'm playing. Who was the other McLaren driver in that year? It was Kimi Raikkonen and 2000 and Montoya? No, it wouldn't have been Montoya. I have no idea who the other McLaren driver was in 2006. I probably should know. Heikki Kovalainen? No, I'm not sure. Anyway, again, being distracted as we go past, I think, what is the Spiker? Almost. So, this little extra bit of immersion is great, but it also allows me to be able to look around at what is around me and keep an awareness of my surroundings. And perhaps for some people who maybe like to be aware of their surroundings at all times, whether that's because they perhaps, oh dear, maybe suffer from anxiety or something like that, and they would be worried that with themselves being in VR they may lose track of where they are and they want to know what's going on around them, then head tracking is a viable alternative. Good bit of blocking there from Heidfeld. It's been a massive accident. And there it goes. That car was gone. So yes, there's a, one of the big advantages, I think, of head tracking. The second big advantage, and probably the one most people will be interested in, is going to be the fact that it is substantially cheaper than VR. Ooh, that was close. That was very close. Substantially cheaper than VR, because VR, if we have a look at, for example, the PlayStation VR, that is about the price, if not more expensive, than an actual PlayStation 5 at the moment. That's a lot of money. A Pimax is rather expensive once you add in all the base stations and everything. Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, whatever the latest ones are, they're all expensive pieces of kit. Whereas head tracking, you can build one yourself, and it will only cost whatever a webcam costs and some infrared lights and a bit of wiring and a battery. Or you could purchase one, which will probably cost, again, between maybe £100 and £200, depending on what you go for. And that's it. It also doesn't mean that you need to buy additional hardware inside your machine, because since it is still being output to a single screen, or if you have a triple screen setup, a triple screen, because it is being output to your existing monitor, you are not going to have to compromise on your quality or go ahead and, as I said, purchase for example, a new graphics card or a new processor or anything like that. You do not need to do that. Look at these two. I feel like I should submit this to fail race. Yes, perhaps I should. Oh dear. I'll have to have a look. Anyway, again, I'm saying anyway a lot because I keep getting distracted by these Formula 1 cars. Cost is a big issue. I think with this whole cost of living crisis and all of that kind of stuff, there's a lot that people want to save on. And head tracking is one of the ways of doing that. As I said, it's not going to give you the total immersion. That is for sure. That you are not going to get the total immersion that you get in, for example, in a virtual reality headset. There's no doubt about that, but you are going to get something. I'm certainly getting something out of this, and for me, this is completely worth it. I do not have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds to spend on something that I'm not going to use all too often, and the reason I'm not going to use it all too often is because I do not have the time to record videos or play games outside of what I'm recording. So am I really going to set up head tracking, set up VR, play it for an hour, and then be done with it for 2 weeks? I think that is not worth it. Plus the whole point of me having to then upgrade my graphics card to be able to get the similar levels of quality as we have in, well, what you're seeing on screen now. This level of quality would not be achieved with a VR headset. I would have to drop it or purchase new hardware. So those are my arguments, I suppose, for VR. Whether it is worth it, whether it is not, as I said, I think it is very much worth it. If only for... oh dear, I've messed that up, haven't I? I was going to say, if only Formula 1 was like this. I seem to constantly be coming up against these cars. I feel like they're being shoved around or something because I'm constantly up against them. It's like they're always in front of me, and I think that might be a setting, an old setting I've got for something else, but I'll have to see. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes, these are my reasons for still using VR. I think VR is a really... sorry, not VR, for head tracking. Head tracking is a really good alternative to VR in 2023. It's worth using. It isn't horrendous. It's actually really good. And whilst it may not give you that full 3D experience, it will give you the next best thing for a fraction, and I do mean a fraction of the price. What are you doing? Rubens Barrichello. I think there's been an accident here. Yeah, these lot are pretty poor at driving. I feel like I've got some sort of setting wrong that's got these lot driving really slowly and just sort of flooding the track for some reason. Anyway, I think that is where I'm going to end this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos on Assetto Corsa. There are some more Nordschleife videos to go. In fact, do you want to see the Nordschleife videos with head tracking? Because that, I think, would be quite an interesting... that would be very interesting, I would think. If you can do so, please do consider supporting me on Patreon. Link in the description box below. And also, you can find me on social media at ECGadget LP for both Instagram and Twitter whilst I'm on it, and my Discord server is also linked in the description box below. That is all from me, and I shall see you next time in Assetto Corsa.